Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having us here. We are Dark Navy, and I'm Shipei Qu, and these two are my colleagues, Zikai Xu and Xuangan Xiao. And today we are going to share some interesting hacking about humanoid robots. Before we begin, let's take a quick poll. How many of you have actually played with any of the humanoid robots? Anyone? Oh, so many. Oh, you are rich people, okay. So for the rest of you, poor guys just like me, okay, don't be panic. We all drop our context here, okay? So what is humanoid robots? Simply, they are robots that looks like human and do things like humans, right? And suddenly, I don't know why, many company, big tech company, has started like manufacturing humanoid robots like Tesla. They are selling the ideas that it will replace you and me for the dirty labor work, okay? But do they have the capability to do this? If we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, we'll discover that the humanoid robots has evolved much faster than people imagine, thanks to the advancements in algorithms and more powerful hardware. In fact, only 10 years ago, most humanoid robots were walking like some former president of the United States, but now they know Kung Fu, right? That's a huge difference just in 10 years. They have never been so close to our everyday real lives. But as hackers, we have to ask, what about security? Are we sure everything is under our control? And the short answer is, unfortunately, nobody cares about the security of these humanoid robots. No vendors mention the security in their advertisement, and the end users also don't care. This is quite interesting because when these robots exist only in people's imagination, people worried about they would put a threat. But now they were actually being built. Nobody seems to care about security. So let's take a look from a hacker's view. The first step is to select a representative target, because it's kind of expensive to perform a large-scale evaluation right now. And we select Unitree G1, potentially maybe the best-selling humanoid robots currently available, with over 50,000 units sold. That's many. And it's widely used by both academic and industry researchers. It's very robust. You can check that Twitter sent by Elon. Okay. So for Unitree, we got some historical vulnerabilities. Like in 2022, the Go1, the dog version of the robots was hacked at our GeekPwn. It's a conference held by our company, and also powered by hackers, binary and /. They did a very excellent job on that. And the second generation of the robot dog, Go2, was also hacked by a community called the RoboWars on Discord. But the bug was also patched a long time ago. So when we started our research for the humanoids, there is no known vulnerabilities for this version, the G1, which means we have to figure out every stuff by ourselves. To get started, we bought a G1 Air, and the Air means it's cheaper, and you cannot run your own program. And there are only a few preset movements, like walk forward, backwards, or turning left to right, shaking hands, etc. So it does not know Kung Fu. But don't worry, we will teach it by hacking into it. OK. And in this version, you can only control its movements in two ways. First is application on your phone, which we will talk about it later. And the second is radio frequency remote control. It looks like the one you use for game console, and it can control the robots without the mobile phone application. And the first thing that caught our attention was how the remote control works. Like we said, it's not a one-one relation. You can buy a new control and pair it with the robot using the app. And after the pairing process, you can just control the robot with this remote control only. And the pairing code has only 6 letters. For each remote control, this pin code is fixed, and you cannot change it for the control. But so you're actually modifying something on the robot, right? Then it will listen to the new controller. But that's suspicious for 6-letter pin code, right? Because we know it's not very big, very large search space for 6 printable characters. If you know this pairing code, maybe you can control other people's robots. So the first thing I did was attempt to reverse engineer this control. We tear it down and found the 3 groups of chips. The green part is the MCU, which we don't have any firmware or documents. And the yellow one is Bluetooth, is for Bluetooth, but we found that it is only used for communication with the app for the testing the buttons. Okay, and the red ones on the back side of the PCB is more interesting. It's likely to be the radio one. And the chips didn't tell us anything because all the marking codes are removed. And there are so many unknown chips here, so we decided to go with black box reverse engineering, which is basically just educated guessing and searching. Anyway, we take this challenge. Let's see how we do it. Through some Googling, we find some interesting leaked documents that appears to be related to this module. We suspect it's a LoRa communication module, but I'm not an expert of the radio stuff, so I have to learn what is LoRa. So it's kind of long-range radio, and it works very well in the wild. It's a physical proprietary radio communication technique developed by a company. I think I forgot its name. It has very long effective range, like tens or hundreds of kilometers, and widely used in many IoT frameworks, I think. And the leaked datasheet provides some useful information, such as its bandwidth, its operating frequencies. But it's useful, but it's not 100% accurate, since like the operating frequency it describes is completely different from the actual one. And all the parameters are still unknown to us, so we have to figure out all of this in this custom radio protocol. Our first approach is using the SDR device, Hijacking, to get an initial understanding of how the signals looks like. And we also discovered a useful open source repository that implements parts of the protocol and in the GNU radio framework, like decoding some data under some certain parameter settings. There are many parameters to be determined to decode the radio signals. The first one is, which is the outermost layer, is the spreading factor, which determines how the signal is modulated and demodulated. So this is the first thing you need to know when you demodulate the signal. If you check the spectrum generated by our SDR device, you will find that different spreading factors corresponding to signals of different shapes. Generally, you use a smaller spreading factor, you will get a denser signal. That means we can compare the typical signal shapes with ours and make some educated guess. And after we get some reasonable parameters, this code can spit out some garbage output. It just looks like random bytes, and the CRC is not correct, so this is not good. And well, attempted to pinpointing where the issue is, we discovered that the remote control employs some form of frequency hopping technology. This means your center frequency jumps in a specific pattern at a different time. Since we don't have a firmware, right? We don't know how the frequency hopping algorithm works, so we cannot track the data now. So we tried another approach. As we mentioned, there is, I think, only one company in the world can manufacture those LoRa chips. So we try to guess which chip the Unitree used by comparing the parameters from the leaked datasheet and the datasheets from their official website. And like a bandwidth or working frequency, and we have identified several of the most likely candidates. Finally, we decide to choose this one, the SX1280 one, because it has a very user-friendly development board by LilyGo with a lot of code examples you can learn from. But these codes still require many parameters to work, so we are back to guessing again. We made many guesses and finally found a set that will make our functions in the SDK in the code happy. But however, when we try to decode the signals over the air, the development board returns nothing, and all bytes are simply all zeros. This is strange because even the SDR approach will speed some like garbage bytes. It's just unable to correctly demodulate it. But now we literally get nothing. So at this time, I would like to give up this approach, but after some more searching, we made more guesses. And we found a guy from GitHub issue said that these LoRa chips, actually, they do not support hardware frequency hopping. So this means these data frames may not be separated by the hopping algorithm. And in short, you can monitor only in one center frequency, like one channel, and ignore others. You will lose many packets, but in theory, you should be able to sniff the data in the channel you are monitoring. Okay, we delve deeper into the LoRa protocol and discovered another interesting parameters called the sync word, and that need to be seems like to be need to be configured for both the receiver and the transmitter. It typically has a default value in many development kit, but maybe Unitree has customized this value. Luckily, this sync word is only like 2 bytes long, so we can brute force it our way to find the correct one. And after guessing all those parameters, like 5 or 3 guess, and yeah, we can decode the packets of these unknown signals. And this time they look like more reasonable, not random garbage. And since it's like clearly unencrypted, so why not take another guess? Let's guess about the format. And you can compare the package when doing nothing versus when a specific stick or button is pressed. And this will tell us which buttons corresponding to those bytes fields. And there are only 2 leading bytes differ between different controllers, which is kinds of, but actually not authentication. Okay, so you can launch an attack that you first collect those error packet data with your SDR or your LoRa dev kit, and you read out the first 2 bytes header, and then you can control other people's robots. So putting all these guessing together, we made this demo. And basically, we can control the robots using our own computer, like turning left, or turning right, or make some movements, like yeah, come here, and go away, yeah. And the original remote control, this one is the original remote control. It was not turned on at all, as you see, yes. So we can control without this. This is the original control, yeah. So in summary, yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is fascinating because we essentially hijacked other people's robots without any knowledge or authentication. So after all, we cracked this protocol of this black box based on educated guessings without knowing any bit of the controller's firmware. And since the vendor, we also reported this as a vulnerability to the vendor Unitree. And but they said we forgot to leave a firmware upgrade function in this control. So This issue cannot be patched. Anyway, they promised that they will enable more secure communication in the new generation of hardware. So, okay, that's my part of the remote control. And we hacked one of the 2 ways of controlling this G1L. And next, let's welcome my colleague, Shizukai will present the attacks through the attack surface by the application. Okay.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Shizukai, and in this part, we will continue our story on Unitree G1. So to proceed, we must first obtain the firmware for the robot's application processor, which is an ARM-based Ubuntu OS. Thanks for the robots community, they provide an old decrypted Unitree go-to firmware so that we can establish an initial view of the robot. So, but unfortunately, we could quickly find a textbook command injection vulnerabilities in its Bluetooth server, which gave us a root shell without authentication. But so, come on, it's too easy. So, we first exploited this vulnerability on Go2, and then we verified the exactly same vulnerabilities also exist on G1. So we break into the G1 and dump the root files and do reverse and so on. And by the way, we report this vulnerability to Unitree, but before the vendor respond, another team dropped an exploit of this bug and named it as a Unipon, and you can find it on the GitHub. And after hacking to the G1, we can establish an initial view of the attack surface. This diagram may seem a bit complex, but it can actually be divided into 3 categories. With Wi-Fi and near-field radio and physical interfaces. My colleague Shipei has covered the near-field radio previously, and in this part, I will introduce the network service. So, from a network perspective, the robot mainly communicates through 2 channels, the WebRTC and MQTT. These two channels work together in robot control, and for an attacker, there are a few core questions to answer. How do we establish a WebRTC or MQTT connection to the robot? And which internal services handle these messages? And how do they pass and process these messages? These questions define our attack surface in this part, and we will cover this in the next part. We looked into how WebRTC works on the G1 firstly. WebRTC is a P2P protocol that uses different connection behaviors in LAN mode versus public internet mode. In LAN mode, the mobile application talks to the signal server and then sets up a WebRTC session with the robot. There is also an open source project provides a third-party way to connect with the robot. And during setup, you only need the robot's IP address, and no credentials are required, no username, no password. And here is the key point. Any attacker in the same subnet can establish a WebRTC connection to the robot. And maybe it's a feature, it's just not a vulnerability, so we don't know. Compared with the LAN mode, WebRTC over the public internet is more complex. First, the application requests the cloud service to create a WebRTC session, and the cloud service then replies with the relay server information, and the application connects to the relay server. At the same time, the cloud service sends the same relay information to the robot through MQTT. After the robot gets this message, it connects to the relay server. Once both sides are connected, the application and the robot can communicate through the relay server via the WebRTC. Authentication is performed at every stage of the workflow, so it is Q for now. And let's move to MQTT next. MQTT uses a publish-subscribe model. Each client connects to a broker to subscribe and publish topics. Since the cloud side is a black box for us, so we first start from the robot side. Using the old decrypted go-to firmware, we are also able to reverse engineering the robot side MQTT connection logic. We find out that the MQTT username is the robot's serial name, and the password is derived from the same serial number. So if an attacker has the robot serial number, they can derive the MQTT username and the password and connect to the broker as a robot, so the password is useless. After we connected to MQTT, we noticed that the broker is configured quite strictly. Topics are separated for read and write, and they are not visible to each other. We also cannot subscribe to some global topics. So even though we can log in as a robot, we still cannot push MQTT commands towards the robot. We can only read the messages the cloud service sends to the robot. But does that mean the system is safe? Not really. Remember that the WebRTC Connect fork flow we mentioned earlier. The cloud service sends the relay server information to the robot via MQTT. This message contains several key fields as shown on the slide, and one field immediately catches our attention. It looks like a JWT. So we try to decode it, and it turns out that this is a user access token. So once we have this token, the impact becomes much bigger. This token lets you to talk to the cloud as the user. We get a clear bypass for cloud-side authentication. Given the robot's serial number, an attacker can continuously listen on MQTT to capture that token, and the attacker can perform user-level actions through the cloud API, such as establishing a WebRTC connection with the robot, unbinding it, or sharing the robot, or control the robot. So here is the vulnerable one user authentication bypass. Okay, thank you. And MQTT is simple. Now we are done with MQTT, so let's go back to WebRTC. Compared to MQTT, WebRTC message handling involves much more components and services. In short, WebRTC messages are received by the WebRTC module and then forwarded into the internal DDS services. From there, different components consume the DDS messages and handle them. We won't cover every service in this complex chain. Instead, we will focus on a few things that are the most interesting from a security perspective as shown on our topic. As you know, nowadays, almost everything is embracing the large language model. Unitree G1 provides a voice large language model assistant. Users can speak to it and ask it to do simple tasks like chat and play music. But this assistant is different from the normal voice assistant. It can also trigger real robot actions based on voice instructions. As shown in the figure, I told the robot to do a dance, and he said, "Yes, sir," and hope you like my moves. So we become very curious about one thing. How does this voice large language model assistant actually control the robot? So we go on. The process begins when the application forwards the user voice instructions to the robot. And the ChatGo service receives the voice input and sends it to the cloud large language model API. The large language model returns structured state in two main types. Text generate is just like a normal text reply, and the key one is function call. It instructs the robot to invoke specific built-in APIs and execute actions like rotate, stop, and dance. We further dig into how function call step-by-step control the robot's motion. ChatGo passes the function call JSON and dispatches the right handler for each function. And it's all done by Python. When we audit the handlers, we found something risky in the rotate action, just like the code shown on the right. To compute the final rotate angle, the code calls evil on a value coming from the large language model output, and that is dangerous. Evil does not just calculate a number, it executes Python expressions. As warning in the Python document, calling it with user-supplied input may lead to security vulnerabilities. So the question is, calling it with large language model supplied input can lead to security vulnerabilities? And the answer is, of course, yes. Prompt injection sounds like a very practical approach here. Just like this meme on the left, we told GPT to do something offensive, he will say no. And if you say, my dead grandma is dead, and he is happy to me to do that, and he will say, okay, I'm very happy to do that, and provide things for you. So we just like this meme. we try to make the large language model ignore the original constraints and return what we want. And as we expect, it works. It just creates a file on the temp directory. And the second approach is even more direct. Okay. The ChatGo service connects to the large language model API of a WebSocket. If an attacker can hijack DNS, they can redirect that domain to an attacker-controlled server. Then they can fully control the large language model API responses and trigger Python command injection through the same evil path. And of course, DNS hijacking requires a specific network setup or additional capabilities, so the exploited conditions are relatively stringent. So we finally find a third approach. It is more stable and more effective. The key is that ChatGo exposes a WebRTC interface to configure the large language model API endpoint. And as we discussed earlier, an attacker can connect to the robot via WebRTC. So we can just call the update LLM API interfaces and redirect the WebSocket server to a server we control. And then we act as a man-in-the-middle attack for the ChatGo. When ChatGo sends a request, we inspect it. If it contains our trigger keywords, we return a malicious payload to hit the evil path and achieve command injection. Otherwise, we forward the request to the real language model API and relay the normal response back. So the system still keeps working, and we are done. And with this approach, we achieve Python code execution on the robot. From there, we enable the SSH service and obtain a root shell. But we didn't stop at getting root. We want to see what's the root privilege really enable in the physical world. So explore how to control the robot's motion after compromise. Both ChatGo and Unitree SDK provide some examples which confirms that high-level motion control is possible through internal DDS messages. More interestingly, in Unitree SDK2, we find a DDS interface can directly control the arm motors to create fully customized arm motions. Using this, we make the robot perform a punching motion. So we turn a remote command execution bug into real-world physical control. And here is the demo time. I prefer a level demo for you, but unfortunately, the battery cannot be taken on the plane, so just play them. And this is the live demo we presented at GeekCon 2025. We replacing the large language API and speaking the keyword and triggering the command injection and remotely control the robot and control it to run to the man and just punching like this. And the robot is quite strong. It's so panic. And in the next step, my teammates will explain how to further break through the restraints of air and enable real secondary development on the robot. Thank you.
Hello guys, I'm Xuangan. After we got the root shell, we could use the basic feature on the G1 Humanoid. For example, we could use the ARM SDK to move its arms or control how the robot works. But this robot is the basic model. It is cheaper, but it only has 23 degrees of freedom, no NVIDIA JSON module, and no secondary development support. So our next goal is simple. Jailbreak the robot and take full control of every motor and make it support secondary development. Of course, today we are not talking about how to train the robot with reinforcement learning to make it dance. The root shell we got was on the RK35AS, the motion control unit. In theory, with that access, we should be able to send low-level commands to control any motor. But in practice, we couldn't. Unitree added some checks in the software. If the robot is the basic version instead of the edu version, it simply ignores our low command messages and block external DDS requests. And even worse, the binaries are heavily obfuscated. And this is the binary exported by the robots community on Unitree Go2. Unitree patched it in the new version, and this is what the updated functions looks like. It is very hard to understand what the real logic is. And so far, there is no patch for the Humanoid G1. So the first question is, which functions should we patch? Because the code is heavily obfuscated, the community only managed to make just one patch for Unitree Go2, just one version. Luckily, we could still learn from the Go2's patch. By different binaries, we identified the key logic inside basic service and the master service. Basic service is act as the bridge connect to the service and the motor. So it forward every low-level command to the motor and sensors. Master service set up the DDS middleware, such as configure the network interface, certificates and private keys, and initialize all the other services. So how the patch works? In basic service inside the low command message handler, the code checks the device model before handling low command. The patch forces it to follow the edu branch, so it always handles the low command messages. In master service inside the low built-in command, it modifies the model check so that the second get command DDS init can always run. We want to locate the logic on the G1 and patch it as well. Even though the G1 uses a lot of Go2's code base, but things are very different. Not only the low command message handler function changed a lot, but load built-in command in master service was heavily obfuscated, and we couldn't even locate the real logic. Many security-related and DDS-related functions are obfuscated too. You may have noticed that the assembly code lives in the BSS section. The obfuscated programs hide the real logic and only decrypt it at runtime. Since the program runs on RK35AS with Ubuntu, we could copy these binaries to a Raspberry Pi 4B. Using S-trace, we saw the programs had some anti-debug tricks, such as read POC self-states and command line, but it is easy to bypass. We use LD preload to inject a custom shell library that hooks open and f-opens. Checks whether those two files are accessed and return the fake results. And then we dump the BSS section and import the code back to IDA. With that, we could do some static reverse engineering. We found there are 3 types of obfuscation patterns. The first one is there are so many junk instructions, things like add reg B, and then sub reg A, reg B, and uses stack adjustments. There are tons of this, and the assembly in the picture are all junk. We could use like ChatGPT or other AI to help us remove some junk codes. And the second one is the indirect branch. Branch instructions are replaced by the BR, branch with a register. And the calculation of the register are obfuscated by junk code. And the third one is basic blocks from a single function were scattered all over the binary. So we didn't even know which basic block belongs to which function. There are also some invalid code to break disassembly. Even though we couldn't identify the function boundary, we could still recognize when a function was obfuscated by looking at the entry pattern. Disassembly are from different functions and binaries. They have some similar entering point. So as a retired CTF player, we decide to make them run and see what happens. We collect all the obfuscated functions by matching the pattern, set up the registers and the memory in Unicom, and emulate each function. We log the target address of all the BR instructions. We found something interesting. Some basic blocks were executed again and again, with lots of other blocks mixed in between. If we treat each BI instructions as a new basic block boundary, we can rebuild a rough control flow graph from the unicorn trees. The blocks that repeated many times are the dispatcher, and the others are different handlers. This pattern matches two types of obfuscation. The first one is control flow flattening, and the second one is virtualization. Here is a table of 131 handlers used by the function and the large byte array. After digging deeper, we realized this is actually a virtual machine. With a hook on the memory read, we can see that every time enter the dispatcher, it fetched a half-word OP code from the byte array. And it is always less than 131, and then jump to the corresponding handler. And because of time, I won't go into the details. But we actually need a VN disassembler. Otherwise, the VN code is unreadable. The logic is hard to analyze. So we use GDB, Unicorn, and QMIL to debug and Angle for symbolic analysis, and the ChatGPT to help us to reduce some junk code. And after 2 weeks of painful reversing, we confirmed that this is a stack-based virtual machine. The ISA have around 80 virtual instructions, and they are variable length. Some are 2 or 6 or 10 bytes long. And the VN translated ARM64 instructions into several VN instructions and simulate their behaviors. And we summarized the meaning of many common OP codes and wrote an ADA Python script that could disassemble VM code interactively. With the cursor at the start of the VM code, we could decode the instructions on the fly. Some instructions like jump and call, the output may not very pretty, but we could also map most VM blocks back to ARM64. And after we have the VM disassembler, we could finally understand the meaning of the VM code. But the next challenge is how to patch the self-decrypting code. If we want to patch the logic back into the binary, we need to solve the runtime code decryption. So after we locate the core logic about the DDS and the load command in master service and the basic service, we use a simple trick. We also do the patch at runtime. We injected a custom shell library that loads with master service. Our library hooks libc starman. After the master service finished decrypting itself, and before it entered the main function, we patched the code in the memory. So let's try it. We patch and reboot and SSH, but timeout and the network is unreachable. Great, it not works. And now the robot cannot connect to the Wi-Fi, and even worse, my teammate was modified the BLE setup script at the same time. So we basically bricked the $10,000 toys, yeah, and we couldn't use the BLE exploit anymore. So what options was left? Maybe the physical attack surface. We wonder if we could physically connect the robot's internal network. Otherwise, we have to flash the firmware or send it back to the factory. Yeah. And the Unitree Humanoid G1 basic version only has one RK35AA, but the EDU version has RK35A and Jason O-ring. And these two boards are connected by Ethernet. So maybe the basic version still exposes the internal Ethernet port, and luckily the manual confirmed it. This is a debug interface. but it is not normal RJ45, but an 8-pin connector. So we made a custom adapter cable, plug it into the connector, set static IP on a laptop, and we got SSH. And we finally saved $10,000. Thank you. Thank you. And after checking more carefully, we found the low command message format was different between the basic and the edu version. The basic version also encrypts DDS traffic, and it generates new certificates and private keys on every reboot. We patched it a few more times, and finally, we can fully control all the motors and completely jailbreak the Humanoid G1. And we even run G1 core project on the basic module. Yeah. But we are not expert, we are not poor in robotics. We are still learning, reinforcement learning. Yeah. And we also could use teleoperate. We also could teleoperate the robot using some XR devices. You can see that the robot is follow our movement. Yeah. And it could now run Unitree's official development SDK. Thank you. And besides Unitree, we also look at several other robots on the market. Maybe currently robots are not widely deployed yet, and many are still for research or entertainment. But we were able to get root access on the motion control system very quickly on some other robots. We found many robots have serious security gaps, and some barely consider security at all. Of course, there are also some companies like Boston Dynamics. They publish a detailed security white paper for the sport, covering open ports, firmware encryption, and more. We did a brief analysis, and we saw they really have some security considerations. For example, parts of the sports program are written in Rust, and the firmware is protected with asymmetric keys. And today, most protections still stop at the software or system level. We all know the Asimov 3 laws. But currently, once an attacker controls the motion control unit, they control every motor and make the robot do anything. Right now, commercial robots still lack strong autonomous planning or real self-awareness. But as they capability go, limiting the robot behavior will become a critical challenge. As Elon said, we want robots like R2-D2 and 3PO, but not the Terminator. And yeah, finally, let me make a conclusion. Model humanoids are networked, AI-driven cyber physics system. We perform a deep and broad analysis of their reduced cloud service and on-device agents, and found some security issues that allow remote hijacking. Attackers could steal sensitive data, access the camera string, or even make the robot perform some harmful actions. As the robot become more and more popular, security by design becomes an urgent requirement. And also, we want to thank for all the previous work we referenced. And please follow our darknavy.org. We will show more detailed reports and blogs soon. And thank you all. Thank you.
Big thank you to Dark Navy for this brilliant, brilliant talk. We have some time for questions, and I see you already queuing up. I would like to start with microphone number 2 here in the front.
Hi, thank you for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
You started it by claiming the vendors don't care for security, but the last part of the presentation clearly shows that they actually do by protecting their firmware. So since it was pretty easy, if you know how, to gain access to the robot, is it actually a vulnerability or is it more like a backdoor?
We don't think it's a backdoor. Actually, they focus more on protecting their intellectual property, like you don't steal my algorithm, my control algorithm like this. But they actually didn't pay more attention on how will this affect the user. Yeah, it's our view. I don't think it's a backdoor or something. It's just bad programming. Yeah.
Yeah. As we know, Unitree as a star company and popular maybe last year or this year, their team maybe in this year they began to set up the security team, and before that maybe they just lacked the security considerations. Yeah.
Thank you very much. More questions. I'm looking to the Signal Angel. We have questions from the internet.
Yes, the internet likes to know how many of the exploits are still unpatched, so how much real danger is still out there. Was there any reaction by the vendor?
Okay, that's a very good question. Because in our experience, after the Unitree has pushed the OTA updates, many people have already updated because it will bother you when you use the apps. It will ask you to upgrade the firmware immediately. And like it's expensive, so we have only one this robot, and we have a competition, and we try to borrow some other robots, and we found that they are already updated to the latest version. So I think most people already have the patch updated. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see more questions here. Microphone number 1 next.
Thank you for the lovely talk. You mentioned that there were, I think, about 50,000 of these robots sold. And during the period where it was possible to control them over the internet, do you have an idea roughly what number were connected? Like what's the size robot botnet, remote control army you could have formed if you wanted to? I'm sure that you didn't, but.
It's a very good question. Because the number is from their financial report or something. I'm not sure if it's the real one, but in our research, we actually did not try to actually hack into other robots. There is a preliminary, you have to know the serial number. So otherwise you know other people's robot serial number, or you can predict it in a specific pattern. So I think it has some condition to exploit, but we never tried. Even before we reported on this bug to Unitree, they already fixed it. Yes.
Thank you very much. The next question from microphone number 3 there.
Hi, are you using the ROS2 interface at all, or are you not using it?
Yes, it has ROS2 inside, but we are not very some robots algorithm experts, so we are not actually directly talk to the ROS2. But I know there are some researchers, security researchers, are trying to fuzzing or finding bugs in the ROS2 system. Yes.
Yeah, there is ROS2 in the Unitree G1. Yes. And like the DDS, it is actually the communication between every service and to the ROS2. Yeah, it is indeed used the ROS2.
Thank you for that. We still have time for questions if you want to come to the microphones, such as the speaker at microphone number 4.
Yeah. Hi, again, great work. and how you showed that you could hack it at every layer, every protocol. So yeah, great work. My question would be on the hack that you did at the VM layer, the virtual machine layer, the hypervisor layer. I just want to understand that the way that you looked at the calls that were happening between the virtual machine and the hypervisor, does it apply to any hypervisor that is based upon ARM64? Because this is a feature of ARM64, right, that you hacked. Or is it just limited to the vulnerability is in the hypervisor that Unitree is using? What is your take on that?
Actually, it is not the hypervisor. It is just an obfuscated method to protect the software logic. So it is use some method to translate the ARM64 instructions to the virtualization code. And at the runtime, the VM interpreter translate around the VM code. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there another question from the internet?
Yes, the internet wants to know, you used SSH, wasn't it protected?
Excuse me, I would. So.
Can you repeat that?
You used an SSH connection, or wasn't it protected by some authentication means?
Actually, the SSH port is not enabled by default. We actually enable it by the BLE command injection or the AI agent command injection. Yes.
This is your final chance for questions. Come to the microphones if you want. Number 2, please.
Yeah, you demonstrated how to gain access using the remote control.
Yeah.
And send commands to it.
Yes.
Did you also manage to get access to the video feed?
You mean code execution through the radio interface?
No, not sending, but receiving the camera feed from the robot.
You mean camera, right?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Actually, we have another. Actually, we made a demo, but we didn't bring it to the slides because of the time limit. We can get the camera live stream of the Unitree G1. It has a small camera in its head, yes.
And the live stream of the robot is transferred via the WebRTC, and if you have a WebRTC connection, you can see what the robot see. Yeah.
So the vendor can also see what the robot is seeing.
Yeah.
I think it's the vendor cannot see this. I think it should be used for normal user. Because when you control it on your phone, there is a app, and there will show the live stream on your app, and you can control it like playing video games. But I think the vendor cannot actually read this live stream.
And the WebRTC is a P2P method connection between the robot and the user, so the third party, like the vendor, cannot break into the P2P connection and see the camera stream.
Thank you.
I think that answered the question. Microphone number 4, please.
Thank you for this excellent talk. Did you have a look if they were using the hardware security measures of the ROG chip, like secure boot or secure JTAG?
Yes, it's in the older version, it actually did not adopt secure boot, but in the recent version, almost all units have enabled the secure boot. But I think there is no encryption, but only signature verification. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next question, also from microphone number 4.
Did you try cars?
Excuse me? Try?
I think the question is if you tried cars, automotives.
No, it's hard.
This is hard. But I think in general he has a good point, right? With Waymo and all these other robo-taxis driving out there, it's not only humanoid robots, so maybe that brings us to my question to you. What would be your next steps? Do you have any other targets in mind?
Actually, there are many companies that claim they are manufacturing robots today, but many of them are only leaving slides. They did not make actually products that can sell to everybody. So when we see some new vendor or new products, we will try to check it, do some security assessment. Yes, that's what we are going to do.
Okay, I see currently nobody at the microphones, but the internet, the Signal Angel, has another question. Thank you very much.
Yes, the internet likes to know, since this is ARM architecture, did you try to exploit the boot ROM?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's the boot room. Actually, we did not dig very deeper into the boot room stuff. We just do on the Linux platform. But I think it would be interesting if someone tried to make some like a glitch or any hardware attack this boot room thing. Yeah.
Thank you. Microphone number 4.
Who is paying for this type of research? Where do you get your funding from?
We actually have a company, and we offer some security service to some other big company. Yes, that's what we do for a living.
And this research is just labor of love?
It depends how you define this, but it's half out of curiosity and half out of the the plan of our boss or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you know Dark Navy, we do many things. Like yesterday, we have a WhatsApp talk in Fuse, and we also have some hardware wallet and so many things we interesting and do some research.
Thank you. We have a final question from the internet here.
Yes, you mentioned the 6-digit authentication code. Was it used for anything after all?
Yes, actually, I think it's used for derive the so-called 2 leading bytes of the package in the data frame. But since we did not get the firmware, we can not actually know how the 6-digit character pin code derive those 2 bytes. But actually, you don't actually need it because you can just sniff for data over there, and you can extract the 2 bytes data in clear text, and you can do the replay attack or you insert your own commands. Yeah, but it still remains a mystery to us since we actually did not get the firmware from the control.
Thank you very much, Dark Navy. We always enjoy having you at Congress. Where can we find you for more questions? Do you have a place where we can find you after the talk outside this hall?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. You can find, you can follow our Twitter or just find the guys with this.
Yeah, who we wear the same clothes.
We print our company name on our clothes. Yeah.
Always good to have some branding at hand. So you will find Dark Navy all at Congress. So please contact and reach out if you have something important. And a big applause for Dark Navy again. Thank you.
Thank you.